Okay, it's 8:30 on a Wednesday, and that means it's time for the live Panther-Lair show here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. It's a unique one here because it's the Panther-Lair Pre-Game Show. We've done a lot of Panther-Lair post-game shows after games, but here we are at 8:30 on a Wednesday night, and it's pre-game because Pitt has a basketball game tonight. Panthers taking on Florida in the NIT season tip-off in Brooklyn. That game is scheduled to start at 9:30. We're all sort of crossing our fingers that that's actually going to happen. The first game is happening right now. Baylor is beating up on Oregon State pretty good. But there's 11 minutes left to go in that thing. I don't know if this is possible. I mean, it's already after 8:30. We're not starting. That game's not starting at 9:30. I think we'll all feel good if it ends up starting at like 9:45 would be nice. But I have to bring it up on my computer. I can't find this. I'm gonna have to bring Jim in soon to help me here because I can't find this game on my Hulu. I don't know where this Baylor Oregon State game is. I should be able to stream this. I pay a ridiculous amount of money for this streaming service, and I can't find the game here. So I have to bring it. I feel like I'm an old guy. I'm like, I need Jim to help me find Jim. I can't find it on my TV, and he's gonna have to tell me what channel it's. I know it's on ESPN, but we all have streaming channels now, right? So I don't know. Maybe if I look through the channels. I don't know. But anyway, you know the deal. We'll get to that in a second. Jim will solve the technical problems for me, I'm sure. But you know what we always ask you to do? Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. That way you don't miss any of our Pitt video content. We have the morning Pitt videos we do every day of the week, Monday through Friday. We have these live streams we do every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Jim gets together with me. It's not always a pregame show, but tonight it is. So I think we can have a little bit of fun with that. We have post-game shows. We'll have a post-game show after the Duke game on Saturday. That one should be a fun one. That's a noon game, so we'll actually be doing a post-game show in the middle of the afternoon as opposed to like 10 o'clock at night or midnight like we've done the past few weeks. So we've got that to look forward to, and we do it all right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. You want to make sure that you don't miss any of our post-game shows or our videos that we post. You can subscribe to youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, turn on the notifications. You'll get a little alert that I think says like Panther-Lair is going live right now. You better tune in so you don't miss the part where he does the shot or something like that. So that's what you get if you subscribe to youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. All right, I'm gonna keep scrolling through here. We'll bring Jim in. And Jim, do you have the Baylor Oregon State game? Are you getting that on your TV in Johnstown? Maybe it's because it's in Pittsburgh or something.
It's on ESPN too. I think that might be your issue.
Oh, there it is. I had to scroll all the way through. So I have Hulu. I
right.
Sports thing. It shows me all these different things, hockey and all this different stuff. But it didn't just bring up this game. The only thing it should be intuitive. It should know what I actually care about and what I want to see. But there it is. Okay. I don't know. Have you been watching this game the whole way through, Baylor, Oregon State?
Kind of been like doing stuff for this. I've had it on. I mean, they've kind of kept Oregon State at arm's length. It kind of seems like Oregon State will get it down to like 10, then Baylor goes on a run, gets it up to like 16 again.
Yeah. It looks like they were up 18 at halftime, so Oregon State's cut into it a little bit, but now I can actually watch it here and watch the final 10, 11 minutes. So yeah, it's a pregame show tonight, Jim. I don't know how familiar you are with Florida. We'll talk about Florida a little bit, but I have a surprise for us, Jim. And it's a little like ding dong, somebody's at the door. We've got another guest to join, and I hope he's aware that I'm about to bring him to the screen. But we have Jerry DiPaola. Jerry, how are you?
Gentlemen, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes,
loud and clear.
Jerry, are you watching Baylor Oregon State right now?
62-48 Baylor, 11 minutes to go.
All right. So have you been watching this game all the way through? Or?
No, I've been watching Duquesne most of the time.
Duquesne. Oh, okay.
They're beating Nebraska.
Oh, really? Maybe I should put that one. Oh, geez. It took me forever to find this game on my TV. I'm not going to start hunting around to try and find the Duquesne game. But what do you know about Florida, Jerry? You know anything about Florida? Pitt's opponents tonight?
A couple of big men. A seven-footer from Canada, right, Jim?
Yes.
And another guy who's 6'11". I wrote about them, and now I can't remember their names. But they're averaging, I think they each have 34 rebounds in the first 4 games.
Yeah, 8.5 each. Yeah, combined 17 rebounds per game. That's which is funny because it's interesting because Pitt has been really good at rebounding this year, right? I mean, Pitt's numbers are way better than they were last year. I mean, there's a level of competition element, but they're top 5, top 10 in the nation in rebounding margin. So I think that's going to be one of the interesting challenges tonight or tests is like, all right, you rebounded really well against, Binghamton. But how are you going to do against legitimate? Although Jacksonville was pretty high on the rebounding margin going into that game, and Pitt was able to sort of take care of that situation. Is that the main matchup for you in this game, Jerry? The bigs, or are you more interested in the backcourt?
I'm really interested to see what Bub Carrington can do against a really good team. I mean, a Power 5 team. Florida tonight, and it looks like if they win, Baylor, Oregon State on Friday. Carrington has played awfully well, and now all of a sudden he's going to be the 4th overall pick in the 2024 draft, and maybe he very well may be, but I'd like to see him play against some of these Power 5 schools and some of the AC schools. Clemson's coming up in a couple weeks. I don't think West Virginia's anything great this year, but the ACC is going to be very, very competitive, and I want to see Carrington play against those teams before I put him in the Hall of Fame.
Before you crown him. Yeah, I appreciate that. Jerry, now we've got, listeners, a lot of people are watching the show right now, and people can kind of comment and chat. And our good friend Josh Newark says, Jerry, you are a legend. Loves your coverage of Pitt, but especially loves your needling of Pat Narduzzi. And I have to say, and Jim, you weren't there on Monday. You probably caught this, but so Jerry, as you saw when he waved hello to us, Jerry's got a little an apparatus, I guess we would say, on his wrist there, a brace on his wrist. And in the middle of the press conference, Pat Narduzzi says, Jerry, what'd you do to your wrist? And Jerry hits him with we don't talk about injuries. And Jerry, 9 years in, how much was that just a relief for you to be able to finally hit Pat Narduzzi after all the times he said to you, Jerry, we don't talk about injuries, and he's giving you crap for it? How good did it feel to finally? Did you have that planned, first of all, and then second, how good did it feel to hit him with it?
I thought he was going to say something after the game on Saturday because I had the injury two Mondays ago when I was leaving the Pete. I fell on those steps. I got the brace the next day. And then by the time the game, the football game on Thursday night, I was figuring maybe he'd say something, but he was too involved in the game and everything and the big win against Boston College. But I was ready. I was going to give him the same line Thursday night if he said anything, but he didn't.
So you had that locked in. You had that one in the chamber, ready to.
On Monday at the news conference, I was sitting there and I was putting my arm like this, make sure he could see it, and he did see it. And then actually yesterday at practice, he came up to me. Maybe I mentioned this. Maybe you, Chris. Come up to me and says, "Off the record, Jerry, what happened to your hand?"
Wow, he hit you with the off the record.
Yeah, off the record. So I told him exactly what happened. I told him I was looking for, if you leave the Pete late at night, like I do sometimes, you'll see some deer up around the top of the steps of the OC lot. And I was around for the deer to make sure they weren't going to try to run me over. So I wasn't watching where I was going. So that's what happened.
Are you okay, Jerry? Is there? But,
it's just a little chip. It's the pain is almost all gone. I probably don't even need the brace, but I just like to wear it because it gives me a little bit of personality. I
mean, you're still banging out fire stories every day, and great articles. So I mean, there's you're on fire with that. So that hasn't slowed you down. You also had a great photo. I don't know if it made it to social media. Jim, did you see the photo of Jerry from pregame on Thursday night before the Boston College game?
I don't think I did.
Jerry, that was random.
Did it make it onto Twitter or any place?
I don't think so. I think Pete Madia took the picture, and he was mad at me actually for getting in the way.
Oh, so Jim, this is great, Jim. Pitt is doing their Panther walk when they're all in suits and they're walking up whatever Art Rooney Avenue or whatever it is. They're all very serious, business-like, carrying briefcases. Out of nowhere, somehow Jerry ended up in the procession, and there's a photo, and it's the whole group of the team walking towards you, and at the very front of the line, face to face with each other, is Pat Narduzzi and Jerry DiPaola, and it fits perfectly. He looks like he belongs. It's the most amazing photo I've seen.
It was a random thing. I was ahead of him to starting out, ahead of the group, but I was walking so slow and they were walking so fast that they caught up to me. And I hear somebody say, "Hey, Jerry, you want to ask me a question?" And it was Narduzzi. And I complimented him on his tie. He complimented me on my tie. and we were gone in 10 seconds. That was all it was.
That was, but they snapped the picture at the exact right moment. I mean, it was immortalized. It was fantastic. That was such a great.
I sent it to my daughter that night, and she said, I'm glad you got a chance to see your bestie.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Jerry, we got another. I mean, people are actually asking a lot of questions of you here, and we have some other friends that we want to welcome to the show. But I mean, people are asking you questions like your good friend RJ Seaman 38. Jerry, you're well familiar with our friend here. It says, Jerry, will Narduzzi fire Cignetti, and will Narduzzi change his approach to filling the OC position if it becomes open? What do you think?
What's his approach? I don't understand what kind of approach he's talking about.
That's like that line in Apocalypse Now when Marlon Brando says, "Do you find my methods to be unsound?" And Martin Sheen says, "I don't see any method at all."
maybe you're right. I hate to speculate on these kind of things because I think it was totally disgusting. What people were saying about Matt Canada yesterday. One of the guys on the radio said, "It is my honor to report that Matt Canada has been fired." And I just think that's going way, way over the top. I like Matt. When you guys met him and knew him when he was at Pitt in 2016, we didn't talk to him all that much, but when we did, he was a good guy. And I remember when he went to LSU, I called him and wanted to see if it was true and what was going on. He called me back, and he said, "You guys in the media treated me well, and I think I owed you a call back." So. Yeah, Matt's a good man in my book. I don't care if he's calling bad plays or sideways passes. In my book, he's okay.
Jerry, you dodged the question here. You didn't answer the question. The question was, will Narduzzi fire Cignetti? You didn't answer it.
And no, I didn't answer because I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well played.
I like Frank. I like Frank, and I hope he doesn't get fired. I really do. I mean. But it wasn't a great season. I'll put it that way, as everybody knows that. Right.
All right. I'll get one more question for you, Jerry, and then we'll let you go. We have a few other people who want to join the show. But I want to ask you this: Homer Simpson, not the real Homer Simpson, I don't think, but someone who likes to call himself as such, says, "Ask Jerry, how does he feel about Pat Narduzzi not picking his starters as the head coach?" I think related to the quarterback, the sort of ongoing contention that Narduzzi doesn't choose the running back rotation, doesn't choose the starting doesn't make any personnel decisions. How do you feel about that, Jerry?
He doesn't. You're talking about he defers to Cignetti on who his starting quarterback's going to be. Is that what
I think so. Yeah.
You know what? Coaches say things at news conferences, and they don't give us the full truth. You got to think that Frank Cignetti and Pat Narduzzi are sitting down all week discussing these things, and Pat is very much involved. I don't know why he doesn't just come out and say, Frank and I decided that so-and-so is going to start, and Yarnell is going to start, or Vayer is going to start. I just think coaches don't give us the full picture when we're at these news conferences. And I think Pat has his hand. Even though he's a defensive guru, as he likes to say, I really think that he's involved in all those decisions that are being made. My opinion. You guys, might be smarter than me, but I think he's involved in all those decisions.
I think you're probably right, and I think they're not always forthcoming, like you said. All right, Jerry, two things before we let you go. One, you got a prediction for tonight. What happens Pitt-Florida?
It's going to be close. I'd say 88-87 Florida.
Wow. High-scoring game, Jerry. You're betting the over on that one, huh?
It's been scoring a lot lately.
They have been scoring a lot. I thought I was going crazy, but with the 80, I think I picked 82-73, but you're going even higher scoring than I am.
All right, Jerry.
I picked Pitt because as Mr. Hammett, his logic of I'll keep picking Pitt until they lose. So I said, okay, that works for me. So it's not exactly
Oregon State on Friday.
If they win tonight and beat Oregon State, or if they win tonight and beat Baylor on Friday, where are they ranked next week?
Well, I'm a voter actually, and I would.
Where would you vote? Wow. Where would you rank them then?
I would definitely put them in the top 25. I might even put them 21, maybe. All
right. So that's what it takes. That's what it takes to impress Jerry DiPaola is beating Florida and Baylor. That's what it takes, huh?
Yeah, I would definitely put them in the top 25. I got to see what the other teams do also. Before I come up with a great number, a definite number. But they deserve to be in the top 25 if they beat Florida and Baylor for sure.
All right. Jerry, before I let you go, I'll let you say hello to a friend here. A friend of ours is in Brooklyn right now, Mr. Noah Hiles. Noah, you know Jerry? You see Jerry
I think
there?
I do. Yeah, Jerry, how's it going, man?
Noah, how are you? How was the ice skating today?
Oh, no, that's tomorrow. That's
Tomorrow,
tomorrow. I got
okay.
the
All right.
Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in the morning. I have my
Are you
Uber
holding the
booked
balloon?
for.
Are you one of the guys holding the balloons?
I wish, I'm sure some Pitt fans wish I was on a balloon. They could let it go and I'll float away. But no, I'll be there at like 7 a.m. and then ice skating's at 4, and then a lot of gambling on the Detroit Lions between then. So yeah,
Enjoy, Noah. You deserve it.
No,
absolutely. Thanks,
Good
Jerry.
season.
No,
You've had a
you
real
were
good
there.
season.
Well, no, you were there on Monday. Was Jerry's, hitting Pat Narduzzi with the "we don't talk about injuries"? Was that the best thing you've heard in a press conference all season?
I mean, aside from when he asked me if I wanted to play quarterback after West Virginia, yeah, I would say that would be up there. But no, I needed that. Like, that was nice to hear. If you listen to the video, you can hear me clapping in the
clapped.
background.
You did. You applauded. You did.
And they say no cheering in the press box, but we were in a podium setting, so I kind of broke that rule. But that was incredible, Jerry.
It made my career. 31 years at the Trib. I finally got something I can hang my hat on.
That was classy. You know what? You finally got him back for when he put that video out on Twitter, like in 2015, where he made fun of us all for looking at our phones during practice. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Pat Narduzzi brings us in for a film study. He's going over practice video, like, guys, we do this, we do that. He's like, but I want to show you this. And he like zooms in on like me standing at practice looking at my phone, and zooms in on Jerry. He's like, you guys complain about only having like 20 minutes of practice, but you're looking at your phones the whole time. And it ended up like Pitt put it out on like social media of them making fun of Jerry. So he finally got Pat back.
It took me 9 years. Yeah.
9 years later.
I remember the other time during the pandemic, he was critical of your AP voting.
He was.
So
I never forget.
This goes back a while.
Yeah,
my good friend Will Graves goes on to Zoom and he says, Pat, you're not in the top 25 and you got no votes, but one of the voters is on this Zoom call right now. and Pat says, who is it? So I raise my hand like this, and he says, Jerry, why?
Wow. The best part was. My favorite part was you had an answer. You're like, I had you at 27, coach. Like you like had an exact answer.
I did have him at 27.
It was gold.
But not 25.
Jerry never goes in unprepared. He knows what's coming, and he's did you hear? I don't know if you heard him say Jerry had that "we don't talk about injuries" answer. Like, he had it in the chamber. He was ready to go.
Oh yeah, he told me in the press box Thursday night before the game.
I was gonna do it Thursday. Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready for when he asks.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was good. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Jerry, we're going to talk to Noah a little bit, but thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll catch up with you soon, okay?
Nice talking to you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Jerry.
See you, Jerry.
He just removed himself. Jerry was like, I'm done with you. I had my finger on the remove button, but boom, Jerry was like, I'm saying happy Thanksgiving, and I'm not waiting to hear you guys say it back. So
he's got things to
out
do.
Of here. Yeah, he's a busy man. He's probably got some pies to make or something.
Yeah.
Noah, what's going on in Brooklyn? You're up in Brooklyn. What's happening up there?
A lot. I mean, it's always busy in New York. But I mean, you can really see. I feel like there's more tourists in the city now than there are locals. This morning, I walked the Brooklyn Bridge this morning to the 9/11 the World Trade Center monument or whatever, and like the Brooklyn Bridge, typically, like other times I've come here, I feel like that's just more like people, like working out, like locals, I think, are just kind of walking across it. There's maybe like 4 people on it at 8 a.m. this morning. But then you go to the 9/11 area and there was like thousands of people. So it's not a lot of people at the Barclays Center yet, but it feels like Christmas time. It's cool to see all the Christmas stuff up in Manhattan by like the Macy's and Central Park and all that. And I don't know, I've never been here this close to Christmas. So it's a special place for sure.
Nice. All right. Well, basketball, of course, is the topic of the day, topic du jour. You're at the Barclays Center now, right? Were you were you out watching Baylor, Oregon State a little bit?
Yeah, or? I'm here in the press conference area right there. There's the post game thing here by myself. But yeah, I was set up and great press dinner. I'm watching Oregon here on the TV. It looks like there's like 5 minutes left. Not Oregon State, Baylor.
Right.
But yeah, really excited for this one. I haven't seen a ton of Pitt fans yet. I was also lurking the halls for Carmelo Anthony. I know he's here somewhere.
Oh, really?
That would be, yeah.
Pitt just put out a video.
And
Oh, really?
that
I
would
didn't see
be,
that.
yeah, that would be one of the few guys I'd make an exception of, like trying to be professional and be like, hey, can I get a photo? I mean, it's Carmelo Anthony. So
I think it's understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to break the, break. I heard one rock critic once was like, there's only one guy I've ever interviewed that like I wanted him to think I was cool. And I was like, yeah, I can't really think of any sports guys I've interviewed that I'm like, I hope he thinks I'm cool. But there's a few that I can imagine that if I ever got a chance to interview, I'd be like, man, I don't want this guy to think I'm lame. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I've only asked 2 people for pictures in press boxes. One was Doc Emmerich.
Mm-hmm.
Both were when I was covering the Pirates.
Classic. Yeah.
And the other was Bob Uecker.
Yeah.
So those, and like, because both of them were like my mentality. It's like, how many more times am I even gonna be around these guys?
Right.
Like they're not young, and like they're both legends of the game. So yeah, but Melo would definitely be on that list.
Melo's
too.
up there.
No question. No question. What do you think? I mean, we talked to Jerry a little bit about this matchup, and he really emphasized the rebounding, the front court, and then also seeing how Bub Carrington does against real competition. What stands out to you with this one with Pitt and Florida?
I mean, I like Jerry's points. The offensive rebounding for Florida, I think I read in their game notes, they're number 1 in the country in offensive rebounding percentage. Mm-hmm. So limiting those second chances. I mean, Pitt's been a great rebounding team, but let's see you do it against a Power 5 front court. It's easy to box out a team that has 2 forwards that are both 6'7", and I'm not necessarily talking down on Jacksonville or Florida Gulf Coast or Binghamton or whoever else, but these guys are at Florida for a reason. So I'm excited to see how well developed Fetty looks down low, especially on the defensive end, if they can continue blocking shots the way they've been. And then another thing too, something that kind of gets overlooked. I feel like Blake plays extra motivated against Florida teams for some reason. He's that guy who always has like an extra chip on his shoulder for whatever reason he can find. And I always felt like he really went into the Miami games last year and then Florida State, like playing extra hard.
Right.
And he even mentioned this game. He said he was going to use this game as an opportunity to ask out his celebrity crush and invite her to this game. He told me that at the ACC tip-off. So I don't know if Coyle is here or not, but he said he was going to play well because they were playing Florida and he's from Florida. So in all seriousness, though, I mean, this is
wait,
like,
who is that person?
Coyle Ray. She's a female rapper. I only know her from his Instagram stories. Like he posts about her quite literally every day. So,
Blake Hinson is your portal to entry here for this.
For sure.
Jim, do you know this person? This rapper?
Nah, just through Blake.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
just through Blake. Yeah,
I guess I have to.
Blake Instagram's story is like a wild ride that everyone needs to get on board with.
Oh, I like, as you like, I've asked him. I've done 2 interviews where I strictly asked him about stuff he posted on his IG stories. Both of them end up getting like 10,000 views. Like they're hilarious. Yeah. So, but yeah, in all seriousness though, like on the note of Blake like playing hard, I think him and Carrington have a lot to gain from this whole week, where there was solid hype. Like I feel like ACC people know who Blake Hinson is, and obviously Carrington has a little bit of buzz about him now. But you do it on Feast Week in New York City on ESPN, and it's going to bring another level of attention to both of those individuals and the team itself. So I think both of them they have a lot to gain from big efforts tonight and Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. It's it's interesting with the offensive rebound percentage. I don't know if you saw this, Jim. Somebody on the message boards, as people were having this conversation about the game, they talked about Florida being so good on offensive rebounds, and they're like, well, if that's the case, if they are just sending a lot of guys and crashing the boards, then maybe there'll be extra opportunities to get out in transition if you can get that defensive rebound. And the other thing too is like, I mean, we'll see how this Handlogton, I guess is his name, right? Micah Handlogton. We'll see how he can run, because we know Fetty can run. We know the Diaz-Graham twins can run. You know what I mean? So
right,
like these guys might be good, Tyrese Samuel and Handlogton, but let's see if you have to chase Federico up and down the court for 15 minutes, maybe you slow down a little bit. So there might be opportunities there with transition and that kind of thing. I don't know. It's going to be interesting because like you guys have said, I mean, we don't know who we've seen this team. We've seen them against mid-major competition, but like let's actually see him against a real team. I'm pretty excited. I think you said that too, Noah. I mean, I'm pretty excited to see what they actually do tonight. Do you have I don't know if it's Kirk Herbstreit never picks games when he's calling them, but do you have a prediction on this game?
We only do score predictions for football, but when you asked Jerry, I was thinking about it. I'm tempted to pick Pitt, but I just think this is a tough matchup for them. Like, I don't necessarily think that Pitt is a worse team. I just think that they're going to be challenged in areas where they really haven't been challenged that hard before. So for that, I'll go Florida 82-80. I think I'm agreeing with Jerry. Like, I think it's going to be very close. I think this is going to be, Jeff talks about teachable moments a lot, and there's going to be I think this is going to be a game we look back at in February and March, and it's like they learned a lot about themselves. Like Bub might make some mistakes, or Jalen, or even Fetty and the twins might have a couple of errors, and they're unlike last year where it's going to kind of be like where it was like they're just going to have to find a way to overcome these consistent flaws. This is going to be the time where it's like, oh, these are correctable mistakes. These are realistically things that they can fix. And that might be the case here. So That's what I'll go with.
All right. I have to bring this comment up before you go, Noah, because I don't know what it means. But our friend Josh Newark commented, I feel like Jim tonight is Phil Dracovic, and Jerry and Noah are the Christian Vayer and Nate Yarnell of the Panther-Lair podcast tonight. What do you guys think? What do you think Josh means by that? Like,
oh man. I mean, I hope you're paying Jim what Phil's get paid. I mean, that's the first thing.
Well, yeah, me too.
I mean, like, I don't know, not to get too far sidetracked here, but like this is often brought up about Phil Dracovic and NIL. I don't think he's here on some major NIL deal, like a Jordan Addison to USC type.
Oh no,
like I think he got like a truck or something. You know what I mean? Like I think he probably is doing like something for a car dealership, but I don't think he's like people have suggested that he stayed in as the starter for 5 games because Narduzzi or whoever was beholden to some giant NIL deal that handcuffed the staff. And I just don't think that's true. Number one, because I don't think he got that big of an NIL package to come here. I think he stayed as a starter because he looked good in practice and then, what did the bed, on game day. But again, not to get unless you have something to say about that, we don't need to get too far down that.
Oh no. I mean, I think he got something, but like I don't think he got anything out of this world for like Pitt standards. I think he got what they would probably pay any quarterback that they could afford to bring in. So
right. So what do we make of Josh's comment then? Like,
I don't
Jim,
know.
how are you, Phil Dracovic?
I don't know.
Are you getting replaced? Is somebody? And who am I in this equation?
Are you Narduzzi?
I don't know.
Oh, well, he's Frank
sure.
because he would have to make the decisions. So that you would be Frank Signetti.
Yeah, because if I'm Narduzzi, who do I like defer to? Who do I lean on?
So Jerry's Christian Vayer?
Yeah, see, and also, I mean, that's the other question too. He says Jerry and Noah are the Christian and Nate, but he didn't say like respectively. So like
Jerry would have to be Nate. He's been around longer.
Yeah, but he didn't put it in that order. He's kind of saying you're Nate.
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll take that.
Maybe it's just like order here. Jim was on here first, and then Jerry came on, and now you're coming on, and then we have another friend who's going to join us in a minute after you're done, Noah. So I don't know who that would be, like Ty Diefenbach or
Jake Frannel,
somebody from another David Lynch, maybe the
Eli
director
Kasanovich?
David Lynch. Maybe it is. It's the coach on the player coach coming to join. I don't know. I don't understand Jim or Josh's metaphor. He'll probably elaborate because he's a good commenter. Oh, Josh did want to know, have you gotten a chance to speak to Scott Barnes? No,
I have not. I'm pretty sure, isn't Hillgrove interviewing him before the game?
I thought I saw something about that, but
yeah.
I mean, we need somebody who's going to ask the tough questions. And he's not going to take an interview with the tough questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure he will make his way over to press row, but I'll keep an eye out for him and ask, because especially if they end up playing Oregon State Friday, that might be my number one goal, because I think more people would be interested in reading that story than a game story.
Yeah.
So,
dude, you might have to stand on a chair to interview him. And that's not I mean, you're a little bit short. He's really,
that was a low blow.
No, it's not.
That was a low blow.
Scott Barnes is really tall. He's a really tall guy. He's taller than I am. So you might have to, but anyway, that's how you can identify him. Look for a guy who's really tall. So
Fair enough. I'll keep an eye out.
all right. Noah, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. It's been fun. Enjoy the game. Have fun. I'm sure you want to get out there. There's like 2 minutes left to go in this Baylor game. So
I have over 140, so we're going to need a couple more buckets here.
over 140?
Over 140.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good. It's
Oh,
146.
wait, I'm not a math guy. Yeah, we're fine. You got it. All right.
I was like, are we in some alternate universe where the stream is ahead of the actual game?
No.
Like,
Yeah.
can we bet on the
I thought
next
I saw
bucket?
5 from. I need to get my eyes checked, but even that, yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah.
nice talking to you guys.
Yeah,
All
appreciate
right,
it.
see you,
Noah.
Noah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy your time. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon, man.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too. See ya. All right, Jim, we got a cavalcade of stars rolling through here. I mean, that was fun. We had Noah.
You
Eric?
told me like you were just inviting people. I didn't know who that meant.
I sent out
it
like,
could have been anyone.
I don't want to say how many invites I sent out because then if we see the number that actually replied, like I might look like a loser if like we only got 3 people to
Yeah,
actually
that's
come
true.
and join us. And I sent out, 50 invites, but it wasn't 50. It was less than 50, but it was a bunch. And we have someone that I don't know if you would have expected. Can you see who's like waiting? Can you see the?
No, I don't see the
Oh,
queue.
okay. So I don't know if this would be
This
somebody
is
you
a
would
huge
expect.
surprise.
I almost was going to bring him in earlier when Jerry made a reference to radio guys like being crude about someone losing their job. I was like, I should actually bring this in. This be a fun, like, well, this will be like on Montel Williams when like, actually, we've got, your baby daddy here to talk to you, but I didn't do that. I didn't want to sabotage anyone. But all right, we will bring him in, though. He's the baby daddy from 93.7 The Fan, who once made 9 straight threes. He's Chris Mueller, and it's funny because I can see him when he first appeared here, so I could see his camera. I could see what he was doing. He's been cooking. He's been waiting here for like 20 minutes, and he's been cooking the entire time. Chris, what are you
Chris?
cooking? Gumbo?
So no. First off, I mean, you start me off by basically implying that I'm Jerry DiPaola's baby daddy. Which I don't even know what to say.
He's like twice as old as you, man. It's really weird.
I know that would be like more of a case for like Jenny Jones or Ricky Lake. I'm making chili, which I make all the time, and then I freeze it in like freezer bags. I lay them flat, and then they are very easy to like take out. Boom, there's a meal. So I'm a complete psycho in the kitchen making chili the night before Thanksgiving.
How often do you do this?
Make chili, period?
Yeah.
Oh, that's like a cold weather months. That's at least like probably bare minimum once a month, sometimes twice if I'm really hungry.
So Chris, are you gonna go right into like making Thanksgiving dinner? Or, like, does that process start after the chili?
The best part is we're going to my brother's house. People at work, somebody at work today was like, "What are you making?" Because I have the reputation, I guess, as the guy who cooks at work, which I do like to cook, but like I'm like maybe the 6th best cook in my family. My sister-in-law is better. My mom is way better. My actual sister's way better. My brother's better, like on the Traeger and stuff. My cousin's a professional chef. Like, I don't have to do jack squat tomorrow, and I couldn't be more excited about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I mean, I guess you could always share your chili. I mean, that could be your contribution to Thanksgiving dinner. You're the guy who shows up with a bowl of chili.
Hey, folks. When the Pilgrims got together with everybody, they came off the Mayflower, and they had chili, folks.
They made chili.
Just had it all. Yeah, by the way, I wasn't the radio guy who said that about
I know.
I know the guy who did say it. I am a big fan of the guy who said it. You absolutely should have brought me on saying, what are you trying to imply here, Jerry? You think we're all jerks, Jerry?
Well,
I laugh, Jerry?
I sort of assumed I think it happened in the morning, but then I assumed that every show just sort of had its own sort of celebration, and
I try not to rip the guy, not because like I know he hates my guts, because I've been very critical of him. He hates Pony more than he hates me, but it's not, I mean, I'm talking about like one of us is Usain Bolt, the other one's Justin Gatlin as far as Matt not liking us. But like I do actually seriously get, I don't want to say, I don't know, like I think when you know a guy isn't like some criminal or some bad guy, it's very tough to like revel in somebody not performing their job to like probably the level that they assume that they would perform it and then getting fired as a result. So as much as we are all seen as heartless take artists, which is at least 60% true, I try to temper that when somebody actually gets canned, even though I will point out, I can't feel too bad for somebody who's making like $500,000 the rest of the year to not work. Like
Yeah.
that changes the calculus here. That's why I try never to punch down.
Right. That's a pretty sweet little severance package. I mean,
Exactly.
ultimately, I mean, to your point, I mean, it doesn't need to be personal. You know what I mean? Like, you can criticize the job a guy does, but you don't have to be personal about it. But look, we're not here to talk about Matt Canada. All right.
Sure.
You've done that. You did that for 4 hours today. And, the guys before you did that for 4 hours, and the guys before that did it. I mean,
are you suggesting that our medium is repetitive?
No, I mean, suggesting that's the biggest topic in town, but not here.
No, I know.
See, we get our own little.
I'm excited about this. I'm excited about tonight, man. Because I don't know how many people watching know this, because you would never know by listening. Because I mean, football carries the mail, pro football. Pony and I, if you probably polled him, he would agree with me. Our first love, respectively, is college hoops or hoops in general. Like right. I'm a Pitt bass. If I could, I've said this before. If you give me the option, I get to see a Pirates World Series or like basically any title, but especially Pirates World Series or Pitt Hoops Final Four, or not even Final Four, national title. I got to get the win. Right. I'd take the Pitt Hoops national title 10 times out of 10. There wouldn't even be like a thought in my mind to pick something else.
Yeah. Well, that was actually why I sent you the invite, because I know, and I have heard you say that before. I've heard you say some of the effect of like, look, if I'm a fan of any team in this town, it's like Pitt basketball. Like, that's the team that has drawn you as a fan, maybe more than any other. So what do you 4 games, mid-major competition, Chris? I mean, like, what do you think of this team so far? We're going to find out in a half hour or 40 minutes what they are, but what do you think of this team through their 4 mid-major games?
So, I mean, it's sort of tough, like compared to you guys, obviously. I'm not going to try to talk about them like an expert when I could, probably tell you Donatas Savaskas' shoe size back in the day when I was able to be hyper.
He didn't always wear those shoes.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Like I haven't been at some of these games that aren't, easy to watch or find. You see box scores. I think like one of the things is just, my God, like handling a team by 50 points is impressive. Just dominating teams you're supposed to dominate. And I do think there's one of the, we're all hopelessly Twitter brained and we're all hopelessly online. And so everybody knows the reference. I know, well, at least you guys do. The Undertaker zombie sit-up when like a team comes back from the dead. And so I think like writ large about this team, Capel has done the most stunning zombie career sit-up of anybody I've ever seen in Pittsburgh. Like it was basically 2 years ago, they would fire him if they could pay the buyout, like a Texas A&M type football school, right? Like this guy's on the way out. Then he gets that team together last year. Not only are they good, they're fun, and they clearly like each other and they like playing together. And I think that matters for any fan base, but it definitely matters with Pitt with some of the things that had gone on in prior seasons. And then to have him come back with this year's team and only Hinson really, and Fetty's coming back and the Twins are coming back, but Hinson's like, you're okay. You lost a lot from last year, right? And to have them be doing this early on and have a guy like Carrington be getting this kind of hype this early on, like as a basketball fan, I'm just excited to see all of that measured up against a legit team. And for anybody who's wondering like, oh, what's going to happen in this game? Jimmy Shapiro, who, legend in the sports betting world, we once got to ask him because he was helping open up the River Sportsbook when he was in town. We asked him basically like, what are the areas where the average bettor can get over on like the smarts, the book, the odds makers? And he goes, this is going to sound ridiculous. College basketball early season, we know as much as you guys do. Like we, not even just small colleges, like your NJITs. He was like, we know as much as you do for the first maybe month plus of the year. There's weird tournaments. Nobody really knows what some of these teams are going to look like. And so that's why I think it's kind of, I'll cut to the chase on this part. I think Pitt's going to win tonight. I know Florida is probably favored in part because the SEC is really deep. And so you'd look at that and say that conference is good. They played Virginia really tight and that's their only loss, et cetera. But I think Pitt's going to win because I think they've got dudes, man. Like Chris, you know how like I like to talk about this stuff on Twitter. It's either are you living in a world where your team has guys or they have dudes? And I think Carrington's a dude, and I think they have other potential dudes. Hinson is obviously a dude. He's got absolutely zero conscience out there. He's the classic like prototypical college dude. They all seem to like complement each other well, and so I think it's going to be fun to watch that actually get to play out and see how it looks. Like you guys are saying, like Noah was saying, against a real honest to God opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, because it looks like the things they've done so far are things they should be able to do. Like, it's not like I don't feel like Bub Carrington's taking advantage of lesser competition. You know, like I feel like no, he looks like he's the real deal. We know Blake Hinson is the real deal, and I don't know. It's it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens here. I did want to ask you, Chris. I mean, as you go through the fall, I mean, I listen pretty. You know, when I find myself listening to the fan the most, and this is just by virtue of when I'm in the car, it's always during
Paul Zeiss's show.
No, I'm not listening to KDKA 1020. I'm sticking on the sports side. So the midday show. So I get a lot of Starkey and Cook, which I have a certain appreciation for. Yes, it's there's a lot of singing today, and that was a little bit tougher to handle. But
you know, Joe, I don't have a prediction on tonight's game. Jeff Capel knows more about his team than I do. You know, they think Bub Carrington suddenly a top 5 NBA draft prospect. They see him more than I do. They know what he's capable of, Joe.
How many times do you think Ron Cook has said the words Bub Carrington on the air
in his life?
Sure. I mean, it's really only the last few weeks, but sure. And I mean, he might have stumbled across it in like 84 or something. I don't know. I mean,
if I set the number at 1.5, what would you guys take? Because I'd probably take the under.
That's probably going under.
It's kind of what I was getting at. I don't think Pitt basketball necessarily cracked the radar there. But what I'm curious about is on the football side, as they went through the football season. I mean, what did you guys? I mean, did you guys just see the interest pretty much just fall off a cliff? I mean, Steelers are always going to dominate, but did you see the interest in terms of calls fall off a cliff when they started losing? Did it just go to irrelevance, or was there at least a period of anger in there?
I think so. This sounds like, I guess, something that would make Pitt fans mad. Everybody wants their teams to be talked about more. I think Pitt football is a really relevant story for us. When they are either shockingly good and have somebody having a season like Kenny did a couple years ago, where he's legitimately in the Heisman conversation, and obviously Pony, as a Heisman voter, very famously revealed that he did vote for him and everything else.
Oh, really?
He's been a Heisman voter for all. Yeah, I know. Really? Yes. No. Sorry. Caught that one late. It's late at night for me. I'm gearing myself up to talk to Richie Walsh in an hour and a half. So
Woo,
I know,
man.
dude.
You're going to be, you better get your energy levels up. You better eat some chili.
I'm basically doing my routine right now.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just warm up.
So, yeah, I'm practicing all my material. They're, in all seriousness, they're going to be relevant for us from like hey, we got to work in Pitt talk when they're either really good unexpectedly maybe, or when things crater. There's a period where everyone agrees where they are cratering in spectacular fashion, that we've got to bring it up. And that sucks, because one of those two scenarios is a negative one. And I think for me, it was, and for a lot of people, it was, man, after the Notre Dame game, I can't believe Pat said that. You know, we saw what the players' reactions were on social media. There was absolutely no putting the toothpaste back in the tube there. And you know what I'll say about them too? I don't want to, kind of ramble here, but this is what we do for a living. I was shocked, maybe not shocked. I was surprised, but by the same token, like not, because I think of the way Pat sometimes comes across to people, at how quickly the goodwill from 2021 had seemingly evaporated. Like when things got bad with Phil early, and you guys would know this, by a factor of 10 compared to me, because you'd see it from the people up close more often. It was like 2021 never happened, partly because they felt unbelievably far away from that highest of 40-year highs in such a short period of time. And so I think there was a lot of like anger that we would see in the Twitter mentions or anything else, or when we talked about it from callers, because we did do a couple college football centric shows during like the Steelers bye week. There was a lot of anger and a lot of like, how did this get so bad so quick? 2 years ago, we were like a Western Michigan loss away from possibly playing in the college football playoff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was, I think it became really easy to sort of dismiss the success, be like, oh, that was just because he had Kenny, you know what I mean? Or, oh, it was just this, or, early years, the year with Canada when they were really good is just because he had Paul Chris offensive. It became very easy to dismiss the success that Pitt had because this year sank to such lows. But, that's what happens. I'm just always kind of curious about the apathy versus anger. I feel like in this town, largely, it just turns to apathy pretty much at any struggle or any
Yeah,
lack
I
of
mean,
success.
you always get the usual Penn State people. Oh, you're playing in front of X number of people. Like, who cares? Like, go back
Yeah.
to attendance state. By the way, Penn State graduate, don't like the football team. If anyone didn't know that already,
That should be in your Twitter bio or something. I feel like I feel like you point it out often as it and need be, because it sometimes gets lobbied or thrown at you like, hey, you're a Penn State guy.
right?
But
Like, that's the funniest charge you could levy. I think, you know what I think there is a parallel between Pitt and the Steelers, though. You have a defensive-minded head coach in both cases, a guy in Pat who hasn't obviously experienced the success Mike Tomlin has, but I do think the frustration maybe primarily from fans is, why does this guy want to drag sort of the offense, it seems, back into a bygone era? Like, you got to try to do things. I don't want to say gimmicky, but you've got to try to do things that attract skill players to want to come and play for you. And if you're a receiver or quarterback, other than seeing what Kenny and Addison did, like, what schematically is going to bring you to Pitt and say, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to play. So that is sort of a frustrating parallel there.
yeah, and I mean, they're both god awful to watch on offense this year. I mean, it's paint dry.
It is very funny
on both of them.
It is very funny that Pitt did manage to get the super laser powered up one time and keep Louisville from being undefeated. I love it so much. I love that Louisville has one loss, right? Unless I missed a second loss.
They have one loss, and then Jordan Travis gets hurt at Florida State.
Right.
Like, the path gets even more clear for them, but they lost to a 3-win team.
I just love that Pitt powered up the super weapon one time and gave us a good chaotic Pitt performance in the middle of this season.
Yeah. All right, Chris, I'm going to let you go hang out with your friend Richie. We got one more friend we want to bring in here to this show, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
You, hanging out. Enjoy it and have fun.
See you.
I'll see you, man. All right, I got one other guy we're going to bring in here, but who we haven't even talked about, and I should have invited him to the show, Jim, is Chris Gates, because the Wednesday Panther-Lair Live show, of course, is sponsored by Chris Gates Fitness. If you have a health or fitness goal and you need help achieving it, visit chrisgatesfitness.com to learn more about how online fitness coaching works and how you can benefit from working with Chris. Now, Chris will work with you to create a fully personalized exercise program and pair it with a customized nutritional strategy that works you towards your goals. And he'll be there every step of the way to support you through the process. Whether you want to build muscle, burn fat, develop more functional strength, train for a sport or an event, or just generally develop healthier lifestyle habits, online coaching is one of the fastest and most efficient ways to get you from where you are now to where you want to go. And Chris loves working with fellow Pitt fans. He's a diehard Panther fan and subscriber to both the Panther-Lair podcast and Panther-Lair.com. So learn more at chrisgatesfitness.com. Be sure to mention Panther-Lair when you apply. One more guest, but before we do, I just have to, we have a super chatter, RJCman38 jumping in, says, what are the odds that Pitt has character issues or locker room issues since Pitt under Capel has missed having a full roster? Yeah, they've had locker room issues every year under Capel. I don't think there's any question about it.
Yeah.
Thus far, through 4 games, it looks like a group that is pretty together. It looks like a group that doesn't have that. It looks like a group that learned the lessons from last year and is taking it forward. Would you? I mean, I don't know if I didn't see anything developing last year at this time either, but right now I don't see anything developing. Do you?
No, I think last year's team, they really liked each other, and just the early vibes, just being around them a little bit this year, I kind of get the same thing. I mean, I've said this before. I mean, Blake Hinson's like a real, like, if he's your leader, like, that's a really cool guy to be your leader. Then, like, the twins are easy to get along with. Fetty's like a great teammate. Like, so for any newcomer coming into this, like, you already have like this great core foundation of like just really good guys. Like, Blake Hinson's like awesome. Like, so how could you not have fun like being his teammate?
Yeah. And I think they learned I think guys like Hinson and Will Jeffress and some of the, Fetty and the twins, I think they learned lessons from last year. And I think they learned about what it actually takes to win, not just that you need to make baskets, but how you need to play together as a team. And I think they're passing those lessons on. And I think the young players and the newcomers have picked up on it. All right, to finish us out, Jim, we've had a lot of fun with a lot of guests, but now we need to get serious. We need to get real basketball analysis and actually find out what the heck is happening on the court. So I don't know if you know who it's going to be, but it's our good friend
every time. Oh wow,
it's got to be Steve. Steven Gertz is here. Steve, unmute yourself. You got to.
All right, got the unmute
now
here.
We can hear you, Steve. All right, so you're going to bring a little bit of you're going to make us all seem more professional and more knowledgeable than we actually are. Because we've just been screwing around for the last 40 minutes here And it looks like by the clock on the TV, this game might actually tip off right around 9:30 or like 9:32. So that's the first win of the night that this game is tipping off close to the scheduled start time. But Steve, we've talked earlier. We've talked a lot about the front court and the battle there with Florida's rebounding, and I keep messing up his name, Hoglotton or Holdgotten. I just forget what
Micah, the kid from Marshall.
Micah,
the 7-footer for Florida.
This is why we needed to bring Steve in, because Steve can say, like, just call him Micah, like idiots. Stop talking about his last name. Just call him Micah. And Tyrese Samuels, I can get him. They're averaging 17 boards per game between the two of them. Is that the biggest matchup to you, or do you think the backcourt is where this game is going to be won or lost for Pitt?
Well, I mean, I think Pitt's advantage, having who they played, though, they really keep teams off the offensive glass. And, Florida right now, in terms of offensive rebound percentage, is going to be extremely high. So I think it's going to be a little bit in the front court. Is Hinton going to be able to keep Samuel off the board in any way? Is Fetty going to get in any kind of foul trouble when you have a 7'1" guy and a 6'10" guy that are active? And then obviously with Samuel, he's experienced. So I think that's going to be the one to watch out for. Like, can Hinton may create mismatches by dragging him out on the perimeter more? Can they involve actions that take both of them away from the basket and then just let their guards rebound? Because I think they are a good rebounding team from a guard perspective. But Florida's going to be long too. They're going to put everyone out there. It's going to be at least probably 6'3". If Pullen's back in the lineup, starting lineup, he's going to run 6'4". So I think that's going to be a challenge for them as well. So it should be a good game. Styles make fights, but they pretty much play at the same pace and they have a lot of the same strengths. And free throw shooting is both their weaknesses. So although Florida's a little worse.
Steven,
go ahead, Jim.
Steven, I was going to say, would you say like an advantage for Pitt, or maybe a weakness of Florida, is it doesn't seem like they're very good at outside shooters. Even Pullen, he didn't have great numbers at his last stop. I think their two best shooters right now are kind of shooting around 30%. Is that something where you could think, if Pitt kind of turns it into their kind of game and Hinson and Carrington are kind of chucking threes? Is that a way they can kind of get out ahead?
Oh, yeah, Jim. That's a good call. They're not a great shooting team. And, Pitt defends the three-pointer really well right now, although, we know the competition they've played really has kind of lended some of those metrics. But, yeah, they didn't really shoot that well against Florida State. They didn't shoot too well against Virginia either. And so I think that bodes well for Pitt when you look at the competition that Florida's played. If Carrington's on and Hinson can be on, and then Leggett's steady. If he can hit a 3 or 2, or any of the Diaz-Graham twins, I think that's a way to kind of break it up. And then we'll see if they could turn them over a little bit. I think, Florida does cough it up a little bit more. 20 turnovers against Florida. I think they had like 16 or 18 against Virginia. Low turnovers against the mid majors. But if they can get them to turn the ball over, I think Pitt will have an advantage there too, because they love to be in transition.
If people don't know, Steve does incredible basketball analysis for us at Panther-Lair.com. I realized that we just sort of were like, hey, Steve's here, and started talking to you, but we didn't actually introduce you. So, Steve does film reviews and like film breakdowns of every game. It's great stuff. I learn something every time, and I think most people have the same response. But I'm curious, Steve, when you look at the first 4 games, what's something that you look at that Pitt did well in those 4 games that you're kind of curious to find out if it's real? That tonight could be a chance to find out, like, okay, they did this thing really well against like Binghamton and Jacksonville and Florida Gulf Coast and all that. Like, let's see if it's actually real tonight. Like, is there something that jumps out to you like that?
Well, I think it'd be in the last breakdown. So it's actually the reason I jumped on it and chatted with you guys real quick is because I was actually uploading videos. So hopefully those videos have been uploaded. But I think what they've done really well, it surprised me, is how well they've done in transition. I think in the last breakdown after the Jacksonville game, I kind of called it out and tried to do the voice overlay so people could see. But the drag screens they're getting in transition are just huge for them. To be able to set up offense early in like the first 6 seconds of the clock, to have one of their bigs rolling to collapse the defense, they can space you out, and now you have Bub Carrington going downhill on you. If they can do that against Florida, I think that's probably going to be for real. But you've kind of seen the progression of how teams are trying to take that away. So I think that's going to be a big thing to watch tonight, is how often Bub Carrington can get downhill in transition. They'll run off makes, they'll run off misses. But if a team kind of gets into him a little bit, if they soft press and go back into the zone, which you saw Jacksonville do a little bit, but they're just not going to be able to keep up with a team like Pitt. I think that kind of made it, a little bit more interesting. And we'll see if Florida kind of borrows from that too, because I think that and the Florida Gulf Coast games were games where it was noticeable that teams were trying to not allow the drag screens and allow Bub to just get downhill right away.
Do you think, is it an advantage for Pitt the way that their bigs can run, Fetty and Guillermo? I haven't watched enough of Micah and Tyrese Samuel to say, oh, they can run well or they can't. But I feel like Pitt's bigs can go. I mean, that's got to be something that works in their favor, right?
Yeah, I mean, Fetty can run on anybody. We saw that last year. I mean, he's going to rim run no matter what. We know that both the twins can do it too. So I mean, that's certainly going to be an advantage. Just depends on how the team will play them. If they kind of sprint down and they roll into those drag screens or those pinups, if the team chooses the blitz Carrington on there, and his first dribble has to be backwards, that's certainly a win for the defense. And I expect to see Florida try to do that early in this one, just because of how much offense Bub and the whole team gets when he does it.
You our staff predictions piece, I'm just looking it up here. We're all 4-0 right now. So shout out to us for correctly predicting that Pitt would win each of the first 4 games. But we also all picked Pitt to win tonight. Your prediction was 80-77. A number of people on the message boards were like, couldn't one of you have just picked Florida? So it's not this kiss of death of everybody picking Pitt to win. But you picked Pitt to win 80-77. What went into that score? How'd you come up with that one?
I mean, I think I just kind of like usually take the blueprint of what they've been doing and kind of look at like how they played against, Virginia. I think they only managed to put up like 70 some points against Virginia, put up 89 against Florida State. I'm thinking Pitt's probably kind of in the middle of there. Plus Pitt has been, easily scoring that level. And then I also just think Pitt's defense is pretty decent here. Again, 89 against Florida State. But, at the same time, just those 70 against Virginia. So I kind of feel like they'll be somewhere in the middle of that. So I kind of just kind of went from the scores. I mean, I was on the part where you guys were talking to Chris about, in early season basketball, how much can you really know about a team? And I think predicting final scores, certainly more just average than it is any science, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I always put my prediction in last. So I'll look at what you guys, I'll think of a number first. I'll say this in my own defense. I'll think of a number, and then I'll look to see if any of you guys picked the same number, either the same final score or the number that Pitt. Because I think the Jacksonville game, I had a number in mind. Then I looked, and Steve, you had already predicted it. I was like, man, now I got to pick a different number. So that shows the level of seriousness of with which I take my predictions. Now, Jim, you obviously you also had Pitt winning. You had him winning by 7, 83-76. What's your logic on that?
I just looked at their offense right now. I mean, they're averaging 95 points a game. I mean, they're playing a lot of because
it's ridiculous just to say it. Like it's just they're 95 points per game. They're just it's absurd.
Like I was at the game Friday, and it was like it didn't really even seem that ridiculous that they got to 107. They were just kind of doing what they were doing, and I think where they had like 72 offensive possessions and only 5 turnovers, like they don't turn the ball over. I think that's what I really like about Pitt is that they're not having empty possessions. Everything's a shot or everything's an offensive rebound. And that's great for them. I mean, like last year's team, even with 2 guards on the floor, they did have some turnover issues at times. I think this team, surprisingly well has been taking care of the ball, and we'll see a little bit more of that tonight. So, I think we had our text conversation earlier. We were trying to figure out the line. And I guess, when Chris kind of gave us that little intel, it kind of makes sense. I mean, they're just kind of predicting Florida because the SEC is assumed to be the better league, I guess, right? And
they've played some real competition. You know what I mean? They're 1-1 against it, but I mean they've played some real competition. I get because it's like 5.5 points now. I mean, Florida's favored by quite a bit. I picked 82-73. I thought Pitt would score 82 because the other 4 of you picked Pitt to score 79, 80, 81, and 83. So I picked 82 because it was right in the middle of it all, and I went 82-73 because I didn't think they would win by 10. But somebody else already picked them to win by 8 or something. So I was like, 82-73. I'll go with a 9-point win. Because again, like I say, I take these predictions very seriously. So put a lot of logic into it. The TV says there's about like 2 minutes left until this game starts. So we're going to sign off here. Steve, thanks so much for all your stuff. Thanks for jumping on tonight. We really appreciate it. We'd love to do it again and get more information and insight. But enjoy the game. We'll definitely look forward to your analysis afterward, your film breakdowns, and have a great Thanksgiving. All right, you guys too. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. So Jim, we had a lot of friends tonight. This was a good time. This hour flew by. We
all surprises too. I didn't know anyone.
Well, I told you ahead of time that Jerry was there because Jerry logged in at like 20 after 8 or something like that. He was ready to go. I think he was excited.
Yeah, I just like think whenever I go to like a road football game, and I get there pretty early. I mean, that's what you do. And like I walk in, and I just see Jerry already there. I'm like, man, the man still has a step on me.
He's ready to go. He's ready to go. All right. I think we've given our predictions enough. We both think Pitt's going to win this game. I guess we'll find out. But Jim, thanks for participating in the first Panther-Lair pre-game show. It was a lot of fun. Everybody out there, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And enjoy the game tonight. We'll have a morning Pitt tomorrow morning. And then, of course, we'll have one on Friday and then the post-game show on Saturday. But everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Jim, have a nice Thanksgiving. And, yeah, I guess we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
So, yeah, sounds good. I didn't know if you were talking like to me or to the audience.
The royal you, the editorial you. You know, I don't know. I'm distracted by the TV.
Chris.
Happy Thanksgiving, Jim, and everybody else, and we will talk to you soon.